right. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Give people a few minutes to trickle in. Hopefully things are going to go well today. I'm still doing some adjustments with the Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro. Still doesn't want to let me do full screen on StreamYard. So I'm trying to work through that and come up with some sort of solution. It may come down to using the webcam for part of this and getting a full screen picture that way. So, I'm also still not completely satisfied with having the camera off to my left side. I don't know. I'm still debating and toying with ideas and camera placement and just what I might be able to do with some of this stuff. I do have a somewhat limited space here in my office slash studio to work with, so yeah. So, welcome, Jacob. Looks like you're the first one in the chat. So we'll give people a couple more minutes. I guess I pulled the trigger a little early on going live, and I think that was just an effort on my part not to be late, which I have done before after losing track of time a little bit. So hope this week has been good for everybody, and we survived another mini snowpocalypse in Michigan here. This one was only a few inches. It wasn't near as big as what the media had made it out to be. And so, I worked from home on Thursday and Friday, so I haven't left the apartment since I got home Wednesday evening. And so it didn't really bother me in the least. I will be going out this afternoon to run some errands, get some groceries, and I've got to go to, I don't know if everybody has these in their area, but Harbor Freight, and get another coupler so that I can have my air compressor up and running out in the garage. I bought this 2 weeks ago today, and I even made a point of asking the sales rep what connector, coupler, whatever you want to call it, I was going to need to connect the hose to the air compressor, and the dude sold me the wrong part, to say the least. So, yeah. Well, that's been my adventure on that front, and we'll see how that goes today. But I'm going to take the part that they sold me and the hose to Harbor Freight today and see if I can't get them to sell me the right part. And I believe it's just going to be a coupler of some variety, and get everything hooked together and get things moving forward. So, all right. Good morning, David. Welcome. Let me see. I need to do one other thing here. Let's get... Oh, I'm competing with Catherine right now. Well, all right. I guess you can put us each on our own tab in Chrome or Firefox or whatever, and just switch the audio on and off between us as you desire. So that way, I guess you can kill two birds with one stone. All right, so so just for the sake of argument, and so I'm doing this early, David does have a live stream tonight, and his link is going in the chat right now. I don't want to forget this later. According to the thumbnail, there's going to be a high-end PC upgrade and final feature upgrades on the new editing rig. So that should be interesting to watch. My purchase money lately has gone into this A10 Mini Pro, so I'm not going to be buying any other computer parts really in the near future. But I do have a solid state drive coming this afternoon. So I guess I told a little fib there. Yeah, we'll get circled around to that later. But let's jump into some news items. And I want to prep my screen here. Okay. So, Chrome OS Flex is one of the first things on my list to discuss today. You may or may not recall hearing about a product called Cloud Ready. And so this was a product based on Chromium OS, which is sort of the upstream project that gets turned into the official Google Chrome OS. Well, 2 years ago, sometime in 2020, Google purchased Cloud Ready. And so Chrome OS Flex is the continuation of that project. And basically what this is going to do is allow you to install a Chrome OS system on an older PC, for instance, one that may not have the capabilities to run Windows 11. And that is or could be an attractive option for a lot of people. With kids these days using Chromebooks issued by schools in a lot of cases, having a machine around that might have a full-size keyboard and mouse or trackball and a larger screen running Chrome OS doesn't sound like a bad idea. So this is still in the pre-release stage, but it will run on older PCs and Macs. So if you've got an Intel Mac that is off the supported hardware list from Apple, this could be a viable way of keeping that system going and getting security updates. Because let's face the fact, there are a lot of people out there that you are never going to convince to run a traditional Linux. But if they've seen their kids using Chrome OS, then it might be easier to sell this. So this is something I will be keeping an eye on. And so I will likely grab a copy of this preview here. You do have to register for it. So I'll just use my business credentials and register for this. and go ahead and grab this and get it installed on a machine. And you may see this in an upcoming video, you may see this in an upcoming live stream, but I think this is something to keep an eye on. Um, and it may well be sort of that gateway platform between Windows or Mac OS and getting people to move on to some sort of a Linux, a true Linux system. So we all know Chrome OS under the hood is actually running the Linux kernel. It's just the layers on top that are different. So, let's see. What do we have in chat? Let me take a look here. Let's see. David says I'll also be talking about how I'm extending my network more effectively into my studio. Great. Joseph says next winter storm in a few days. Some uncertainties in this one. Hopefully this one will be a bust as well. Good morning, Chris. Welcome. Chris is I tried to make him famous last week. He wasn't here, but I tried to make him a little famous last week. I mentioned him when we were talking about Action 1 RMM tool. And I have been using that at the library for going on 2 weeks now. And I am extremely happy. It has made my life so much easier. And I think, I didn't have a high stress level with anything at the library, but this has reduced some of the minor stressors that I had. So, yeah. I do have a 30-minute meeting with one of their people on Tuesday just to get a few additional questions answered. But, when you can use the product for free for up to 100 endpoints, it is definitely worth checking out, even if you're only going to support, friends and relatives and a handful of people with something like that. If they had Mac and Linux support, I would drop my subscription to Splashtop. But at this point, they do not offer support for anything other than Windows. But it's on the roadmap. We'll see how quick that comes. Let's see. From Joseph, my old Arch PC is taken down until further notice. If I could make it through March with no major issues, I may bring it back, but with some cutbacks. Yes, I am very happy, and I am indebted to you for the suggestion. Welcome, Muhammad. Good to have you here. Yep, I've read through the article, and it's like, oh, I know this guy. Well, at least electronically, I know this guy. Let's see. Tom and Switched in Linux recommended me to avoid Kubuntu. Something about the Ubuntu package base having issues or something. That's possible. I haven't followed Kubuntu terribly close in a number of years. I think from 2007 to about 2012, I was running that as a pretty major part of my my computing day-to-day use. after that, I have bounced between different things, and yeah. So, all right, let's continue on into some of the other news items. Okay, so we talked about Chrome OS Flex. One of the other big releases this week was that pfSense CE, the Community Edition 2.6.0, and pfSense Plus 2022.01 were released. Now, this is kind of interesting because for the first time, you can run pfSense Plus if you are a home or non-commercial user, doing a lab or what have you. You can run this on Netgate hardware, and this can be rather attractive. Now, I continue to monitor the developments with pfSense. I kind of lean more into the OpenSense camp, but it is not a bad idea to keep up to date on at least what features are being offered with the new releases of pfSense. So that's kind of an exciting thing there. We had AV Linux MX21 released this week. Again, this is, with the name AV Linux MX, this is aimed towards audio and video production and is going to have a bunch of software pre-installed for you, ready to go right off the ISO image. Let's see. Kali Linux 2022.1 is also available, and we'll take a look at that in a few minutes. Has a new look. It's got some additional tools that have been added, some of which I believe are custom. And there's also what they call the Everything Edition, which throws in everything, including the kitchen sink, apparently. And this particular version, you cannot download just a straight ISO over, standard HTTP or FTP. You've got to do a torrent of this because it's so much larger. And for the ones of us that like old school Castlevania or Metroidvania type games, a game called Infernax was released at the beginning of the week on Valentine's Day, and this is going to be very close to games like Castlevania 2, and it looks very fun stylistically, and the gameplay looks decent. I'm not going to play the video, but I'll throw this URL in chat. It's available on Steam, currently only for Windows officially. But I think for it's under $20. I think it's like $17 or $18 US. But it looks rather interesting, and something that I would definitely consider playing myself. If it ran with Proton on Linux or Mac OS, I would jump on it right now. Unfortunately, at least for the initial release, it is Windows only, at least officially, and until Proton, what is it, Proton DB gets updated, it probably will not be on Linux. So currently they're awaiting further reports before giving it a rating. So that is something to look out for if you're on Windows, which I know a lot of my viewers are. Definitely check it out, and feel free to leave me some comments and let me know how it is. I do have a Windows 11 machine that has the built-in Radeon graphics on the Ryzen chip. So for a game like this, it would be plenty of horsepower to run it. It's not like it's a AAA first-person shooter, high action, high detail type of game. This is very much in an 8-bit style, and modern computers will have no real problems running this. So looking at the reports, this person says, I'm running an old ATI GPU, video and audio degradation, had to force wind direct 3D and launch options. So you may have to tinker with it a little bit, but it sounds like you can get it to run on Linux. This person was running Arch, and the person that said it works perfectly was running Linux Mint 20.2. So hey, you might be all right. Of course, the person running Arch only had 4 gigs of RAM and a Core 2 quad. So yeah. Whereas the person on Mint had 16 gigs of RAM and a GeForce GTX 1060 with a Core i7 8700. So a much beefier machine in all aspects there. All right, let me check chat real quick, and it looks like we've got one additional one here. Proton on Arch could make Infernax playable on Linux soon enough. Yeah, I know Proton just had their 7.0 release, which is mentioned here on for the Arch person. So that might make a difference as well. Whereas the person on Mint is running the older Proton 6.3-8. So it's one of those your mileage may vary type of situations. I'd probably purchase it and run it on that Windows 11 box, at least temporarily, and then test it on some of my other machines that are running Linux. Purchase it once, try running it anywhere. With the Windows 11 mini PC, I can actually just take that out to the living room and plug it into the 55-inch TV and run it through the surround system. So that would be kind of entertaining. All right, so let's take a look back at my notes. Okay, so interesting news, or I guess announcements. There has been some development going on with the Fog project. You just have to dig to find the information. So I started digging a couple of days ago in their forums, and what I found out is that they are doing a few things. First, the official fog kernels are moving to GitHub. The latest development kernels on GitHub are from the 5.15 branch. So again, they're making a jump for updates. And you know, they had a few other things. They have somebody working on making some behind the scenes changes to the way the installer works. And so it sounds like less like fog is dying, because there has been some movement on this. But at the same time, it's been over a year since the 1.5.9 version was released as stable. So at this point, I am taking the stance of being cautiously optimistic that 2022 will see some movement in the fog space. But at the same time, I am still investigating, and as I have mentioned in previous videos, I am looking towards doing a series on Clonezilla, and specifically Clonezilla server, in the spring. Just because this is something that is consistently developed and has traction behind it. And if nothing else, it documents a process to, or the videos will document a process to have an alternative to fog, just in case the developers just up and leave the project. So that is something to consider there. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. If we go to again, I apologize that this is not larger. There's got to be some setting I'm missing with the ATEM Mini Pro that is not letting it go full screen in StreamYard. But there is nothing as far as the well, I might know what the problem is. I'll have to reach out to Tony or Joe Trulli or one of those guys and see if we can do a little quick testing at some point. I think it's that I've got the mid-tier version of StreamYard, which forces me down to 720p, and the ATEM Mini Pro will auto upscale everything to 1080. So I think it's a conflict between the ATEM Mini and this StreamYard application. Okay, let's catch up on chat. I still cannot trust fog in a work environment. I'm using Rescuezilla and a SIF share to restore images at work. Yes. I don't know as though I can really advise anybody to do a production level rollout of fog at this point. It would be more home lab use type of recommendations. From a conceptual standpoint, it's still a good exercise to go through to set it up. But I agree, for most things, I actually find myself using Rescuezilla a lot myself right now. So even at the library, as I'm starting to play with the idea of doing clean installs of Windows 10 to combat some issues we've got. I am using Rescuezilla to make the image backups on those machines before I wipe them to do the clean install. That way, at least I can roll back if I need to. So, just not convinced they're back fully. You're right on the money. That's exactly where I'm at. Clonezilla is what I use for system backups. Yep. My day job IT department is doing a production rollout of Fog to help meet one of the NERC SIP standards. All right. Okay, so let me bring this back up. Well, why don't I just do it this way, and we'll just there. This is why I keep Splashtop around. Because I've used it in these live streams as well. Okay, so here on my Ubuntu machine, I have Kali Linux installed. This is the new version, which I just installed before the live stream today. And, you know, nothing huge visually. You still, during the installer, you got your choice of desktop environments and all that kind of fun stuff. You know, to me, the beauty of Kali is having all the tools in one place and being able to start learning them. At the same time, as Kali has been out for longer, I have really started to come down to to settle on the approach that this is great in the lab. If I were actually doing something out in the field, I would rather just install the tools on whatever Linux distribution I might be using at the time, or in a VM on a regular Linux distribution. And you know, you're going to have the same effect. Some of these tools, it's nice in Kali because they are there and they're configured for you already. There are some things that have a higher learning curve to get configured. But you know, it's a great place to get your feet wet and find out what tools are available, and explore those tools a little bit, because I've discovered tools with Kali that I never would have known existed otherwise, for, you know, lack of knowing the name of the tool or lack of getting the right combination of search terms in Google to find them. There is a tool called Beef that should be in here somewhere. And some of these are great for information gathering and you know, things that you can do on your own systems in your own lab. Again, I'm bringing this up for educational purposes only. I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to. Uh, I bring these up for educational purposes. Um, if you're going to sit in your local coffee joint and use the free Wi-Fi and use these tools, um, as I used to say to my students, uh, that's on you. That is one of those things where you might get some overly friendly people showing up and bringing you some silver bracelets, and taking you for a ride. Um, you know, that's on you. I think it's safe to say in this group that we're all over 18 and have some concept of the law, and uh, it's a your mileage may vary type of situation. I'm not going to tell you to do this anywhere other than your own home lab network where you have full control and ownership of it. Um, let's see. Let's get some caught up on some chat things here. Rescuezilla is a port of Clonezilla. It's also easier for the Windows users to use. Yes. Um, it definitely reminds me of some earlier tools that I don't know if one was called Partition Magic, something like that. That was aimed at Windows users, and it reminds me of some of these older tools Rescuezilla does, just trying to make it easy, approachable, graphical, auto launchable type of software that an entry level tech that has used nothing but Windows their whole life can use without too much problem. Um, so that's why I continue to cover Rescuezilla. Um, you know, a few years ago, I think maybe 3 years ago now, I did cover Clonezilla, but I never got near as much traction on Clonezilla as I have on Rescuezilla and Redo Rescue, and the stuff that's easier. And as I've said before, my aim for this channel is several fold. Leaving a legacy, self documentation. I have found myself referring to my own videos in some cases, for something that I don't use every day. Um, but also, I know that a lot of my viewers are running Windows still. And, you know, it is what it is. But, I've got to try to know the audience and kind of meet them where they're at. Um, and that's kind of the approach I've been trying to take with some of my more recent videos, is to approach it from a little bit different angle. So whether or not that backfires on me, I'm not sure, but the channel is continuing to grow. um, just bumped over 3,200 this week for subscribers, so something's got to be working if I'm continuing to grow. Let's see. I do make all my master images of sysprepped Windows images using Clonezilla. Yeah, probably not a bad idea. Walmart has a PNY SATA SSD with a USB 3.0 to SATA transfer cable. Can I use the transfer cable to plug in a Linux drive and boot it on any machine as if it were an external hard drive? Yes. As long as the as long as the driver chip or the controller chip in that unit is supported under Linux, um, it would act just like an external hard drive. If you open a shell window in Rescuezilla, you can still run Clonezilla by typing the name. Interesting. I did not know that. I will have to play with that and bring that up as a feature in a future video. I know Shashin, the developer of Rescuezilla, has said, I don't know if it was on the website or in the forum or someplace, he said, it might have been on the GitHub page, that he was hoping to do a little bit of a feature update in February of this year, which, you know, we're past the middle of the month, so maybe he'll get it out before the end of the month. I think that's going to be like 2.3.2. And then he will do another larger update after rebasing it on Ubuntu 22.04. So, you know, there are things that I'm looking forward to and making videos on with that. So keep your eyes peeled. I will be covering those things as they become available. So yeah, so Kali is great. You know, I install it every few months in a VM and just play with it. I don't necessarily keep it installed all the time. But let's see. If we open up Kali Tools, you know, it's one of those things that's fun to play with. Now, just to let the cat out of the bag a little bit, I do have a video. It will probably release on Tuesday. It's already edited and uploaded to YouTube. I just need to drop the thumbnail on and some other details into it and schedule it. But I did do a video yesterday. I recorded this video on installing Windows Server 2022 on Proxmox VE. So I thought it was beef that I had seen a video about earlier this week, but I don't think that's it. I'll have to go back through my video history. There was an interesting tool, and I think I've got it confused with beef. But it was, yeah, there were some interesting things in it. Okay. Let me jump back to my notes. Okay. Let's see. Windows 11 has received its first big update. One of the biggest changes is they have brought the ability to run Android apps on Windows. They've apparently also added some additional features to the taskbar, because as you're probably aware, when Windows 11 was released, let's see, when Windows 11 was released, they had actually removed features from. Oh, hey, there's my Steam store open. They had removed features from the taskbar, and so they have added some things back in. Um, I never spent a lot of time playing with it beforehand, so I'm not exactly sure what they had added, but there are definitely additional things here that you can do. Automatically hide, show badges, unread message counter in the taskbar apps. We can take that off. Share any window from my taskbar. Select the far corner of the taskbar to show desktop. Okay, so that is available. This should be the most recent version of Windows 11. 21H2 feature enhancement pack 1000.22,000.527.0. So that's the update right there. Yeah, I had a little bit of a love-hate relationship going on with this Windows 11 box earlier in the week. I had moved it to a different location in my apartment and left it, turned it back on, had it connected to Ethernet, and thought, okay, well, I've got remote access to this. I'll just run it headless. Yeah, not so much. When I would try to log into it, I'd get nothing but a black screen. And so I moved it to another location and plugged it into my TV, one of my TVs, and lo and behold, I ended up getting a picture through my remote access software, Splashtop. So the other, I guess, interesting thing that I read, and this was an article that popped up in my news feed this morning, that makes me a little uncertain. Excuse me. Uncertain about how long I will keep Windows 11 around. And that is a report from TechRadar. And give me a moment. I will post this link in the chat. So this report from TechRadar talks about an upcoming Windows 11 update that will bring parity to the install process of to Windows 11 Pro. So, as I'm sure some of you are aware, with Windows 11 Pro, you could do an install without a live internet connection and without having to have a Microsoft account. And yeah, that is going away in an update that is scheduled for later this year. At least that's when it's currently scheduled. I think this is a troubling move in a lot of ways. There are still many places, even here in the US, that do not have stable, reliable internet connections. And I find it interesting that you've got Microsoft pushing this so hard when you know, as long as you can manage to download Mac OS, you can install it without being connected to the internet. Linux you can install without being connected to the internet. Even Chrome OS, as long as you got the installer on a thumb drive, you can install it without being connected to the internet. Now, Chrome OS, you may not be able to get all the way through the registration process, especially in an enterprise type environment. But you can get a basic install going without being connected to the internet. I don't know. I'm just I think if the plague has taught us anything, it is that there's a need for internet in more rural areas, in third world countries, in remote areas. And I'm not sure what the answer is. But I keep a thumb drive with a bunch of Linux distributions on it ready to go, and I try to keep this updated quarterly, say, with the newest ISO images. And I'm just going to continue doing that because, frankly, this is troubling to me as far as you get out of the cities and this could become an issue. Now, whether that will push people to get off from Windows, probably not. It'll probably push them to find a way to afford internet, even if it's slow. And, or they start spending more time in their local library or their local coffee shop or whatever other community center or other place they can go to and get free or very low cost internet that is not something that necessarily has to come out of their pocket. There are options out there. But my point being is it's going to be interesting to see what the backlash, if any, comes from this. So that was just kind of something interesting I found this morning, and it's like, oh, I need to talk about that. So let's see what we've got. NCOM OS 11. NCOM OS. Have I... Oh, is that the operating system from Tron Legacy? Incom boardroom. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? I'll let that sit in the background for a minute. Or was it 12? Windows will always need an offline type of method to deploy for business. Yeah, so the article didn't go into a lot of detail on this. So I'm assuming that this is going to be for one-off installs that are not part of a site license type of deployment. Um, if you're reinstalling Windows 11 Pro on just some random Dell box or any other consumer level PC that you bought from the local big box store, um, or ordered off the Amazons, um, I can see this being an issue. It could also lead to people, pooling some cash, small groups pooling some cash, forming a forming a small LLC company for the purpose of purchasing a site license of Windows, and then people can have some of the capabilities like the offline install and different things of that nature. I think it's going to make it more difficult for resellers. Um, uh, but it will be interesting to see how this goes once they actually announce it and push it out there. Yep, Encom OS Tron movie. Yep. Um, so this is kind of a fun visualization to have going. I'll throw that in chat as well. Uh, uh, so yeah. Um, I don't know. It just I just I don't know. The whole reason I've shied away from doing sysprep tutorials on the channel is because I don't have proper licensing to do that legally. I know I've had several people ask about it, especially in the context of my fog videos, and I just it's not somewhere I want to go. It's I point them. What was the resource that I was given a few years back when I had to do sysprep? IT Bros. So this website, and I'd have to dig for the link, but there's the main website. IT Bros has some good tutorials on the sysprep process. And it's actually what I used to build an image at my previous employer, who had the proper licensing, and I had those images available to me. And so when I first started doing fog, I did it for a classroom experiment, and it turned into something I was ending up using for production. Um, Amazing how that kind of thing can happen. Um, but they've got sysprep, Windows 10 and 11 machine, step-by-step guide. I guess I can throw that direct article right in chat. And so, yeah, it's going to walk through not only telling you what sysprep is, benefits and disadvantages, creating a reference image, customizing Windows 10 and 11 in audit mode, This goes through the whole 9 yards. It's got a list of updates. Uh, just this is the newer version of the reference I used when I was tasked with building a master image from scratch for deployment to a bunch of new laptops at my previous employer. Um, a lot of the options I didn't use because I had a time crunch, and so it was easier. And granted, I was doing this with the help of a crew of students, but it was easier to and quicker, I should say, to get a procedure put together for tying up some loose ends than it was for me to figure out in the time I had how to set every little option and get it ready to go for what we needed to do in the time frame we needed to do it. In the process of doing this, using fog and doing the in-house master image and deploying it to all these Windows machines, these laptops, I ended up saving this company who is now dead and bankrupt and gone. I did save them somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000. Of course, I saw none of that, but I'm not even sure I got a thank you other than from the IT manager. Um, but it was one of those things. It was a good learning experience for me with fog, and it definitely gave my students some real world experience that they could take with them for going to their first job outside of vocational training. But yeah, this is the guide that I used when I was doing that project, and I think I've posted it to posted a link to this article, probably the previous iteration of it, because this was back in 2017 or early 2018 when I was doing this project. Um, you, you know, I probably posted an early iteration of this article to a video or comments somewhere, but I've thrown it in chat. So, if people want to grab that, they can, and hopefully people will find it useful. Tony, welcome to the party. Glad to have you here, my friend. Learning how to make a sysprepped image is important. One image that works on multiple hardware. Horrible to build an image for each model of machine. Yes, you are absolutely correct. Um, the the takeaway from this project for me was I really only had to do two different sysprepped images. One for the laptops that were rolling out to students, and one for laptops that were rolling out for staff. And the difference was basically what software was pre-installed on the images. And in all honesty, we also ended up deploying Chocolatey on all those machines. So once you had a list of things to install with Chocolatey, it was easy to take a clean image and customize it quickly. So Again, I was bringing some of that Linux thinking over to the Windows side of things, and um, as far as I was concerned, I liked that approach. But um, of course, that's a your mileage may vary type of situation. Okay. Message for Tony. All right, so let me jump back to um, my final segment, and I just want to talk a little bit about Proxmox. And okay, so you can see that. I have been in a little bit of a transition with my Proxmox setup. Um, I decided that the old Super Micro server is just too loud and power hungry to continue using it. So I have shut it off. It's off. It's no longer making noise in the background in the other room. This has been my secondary Proxmox machine for a while. As you can see, I've got a bunch of VMs restored onto it currently. But the piece that really got me there was having the Proxmox backup server running on a dedicated machine. So one of my Dell Optiplex 7020s, I think they are, 7010s, 7020s, something like that. They were inexpensive machines. I'm not running anything in production. The most production level thing I may run on these would be a DNS server for local DNS. And that's easy enough to switch DNS settings if I have to, if the machine goes down or what have you. I don't have roommates or anything, so I've got nobody nagging at me for something like that. But I've got a solid state drive coming for another Proxmox VE server today, so that will be basically identical to the one that's running. It will have, I believe, a 750 gig spinning Rust drive, and this one will have a 480 gig solid state drive in it. So they'll both have local storage. They're both going to be configured with storage to back up to the Proxmox backup server. This one doesn't currently have the ISO store on my NAS, but that is something that will get added. My goal is to move all the ISO images from local storage onto my NAS. That way I'm only keeping single copies of all these ISOs, and I can really access it from Proxmox and any other machine, the couple of odd machines that I'm still running VirtualBox on. So, part of the process of this was, getting the Proxmox backup server up and running. And as you can see in content, it is running and backing up all of my VMs. Some of these where it has none for verified, they're either new VMs, and so they weren't. So like 10,005 is a new VM that I installed Server 2022 on. So that's not been through the verification process yet. Everything else has had at least one pass at a verify. So that's all good. Um, but yeah. Uh, so once I get this other machine up and running with the new solid state drive, I can start restoring a few of the machines back, the VMs back to it. Um, which means that I will then be able to pull the hard drives out of the Supermicro server to reuse them in another machine. I've got a couple of ideas on that. And then um, I will probably purchase probably just two solid state drives, lower end solid state drives, along with adapter trays um, to put back into the Supermicro machine, and that machine will likely get donated to the community center I work with because they do not have a server currently. Um, and they do get some younger people in there that are interested in tech, and you know, if if I can throw Proxmox on that and run a an instance of Nextcloud or something similar, then you know it gives them a space that you know they can rely on. And you know that Supermicro server has been a tank. It's overbuilt almost, um, but it's just to the point where um, I guess I'm over having a 1U rack server in my apartment. Now that's not to say that I won't, you know, get like a 2U or 4U case and just put a motherboard from another machine in it, and have something that doesn't make near as much noise. But I'm not there yet. The Optiplex machines, they're little workhorses, and so my goal currently is just to keep running those and keep making sure I've got backups. And so you know I keep this the Proxmox backup server. It runs all the time. It just sits there, and you know, a couple times. Well, I think I've got it doing daily backups from the Proxmox VE server, and then it runs a verify twice a week on those. Um, so it's the overall. Where's that graph? Um, the overall utilization is still pretty low on this. 474 backups because I've got multiple copies of the backups currently. Um, you know, I've run the garbage collection operation, run the verify operation has gone twice. I just started setting that up yesterday. Um, but yeah, it's I don't tend to keep VMs around for extended periods of time, so this suits my needs for a home lab about as perfectly as I could get. Um, I still have to play with sync jobs, verify I set up. You know, I do want to dig deeper into um, you know, adding specific users for some of these tasks and things of that nature. But my approach is to be able to, if I have a system fail on me, I've got backups to work from. I've got the Proxmox ISO on a thumb drive. I can replace a failed hard drive or whatever needs to be replaced on that particular machine, or swap it into a new machine, and get everything back up and going fairly quick. And that was kind of the goal I'd been working towards. So I guess that's that. Let's see. We've got 12:15 Eastern. Let's see. Let me catch up on chat, and then I'll open it up for questions and comments, and we'll wrap up by about 12:30. So let's see. I just clustered my Proxmox build at work. I now have a 2-node setup, planning on a 3rd node, but the ability to migrate a VM while running is great. Yes. I played with the cluster. I will do that again. It's not where I'm at right now, but I'll get back there. I've decommed 6 physical servers, and everything is now virtualized, running on 2 with resources to spare. Great. Been enjoying Synology's virtual machine manager. Have an older Supermicro server waiting to be tested. Plan on installing Proxmox. Supermicro servers impress me. I have to say, just kind of staying standards based. They have impressed me. This one that I own, I've had for almost 10 years, and it was used when I bought it. So, it's probably pushing towards 15 years old. But the thing it keeps running like a Timex, it just takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Noise. Maybe when I get around to building it, I'll put it in the garage. There are 2 drops in the garage. Yeah, I'm not fortunate enough to have an attached garage where I could just stick the 1U server. That would be a good place to throw it if I had an attached garage or had Ethernet running out to the garage that I've got access to. Unfortunately, I'm in that necessity is the mother of invention type situation. And once I discovered that Proxmox ran great on surplus Optiplex boxes, I thought, oh well, that's a great way to go. Proxmox has been a great solution without the costs involved with VMware. Yeah. So, Chris, I would be interested in knowing if you're willing to share. Does your company pay for the support package for Proxmox for either of the 2 servers you've got up and running? I'm currently running just the community edition, the no subscription repositories on both the virtualization server boxes as well as the backup server box. I'm just curious if your company has sprung for the support, or whether you even find it necessary. But I will say Proxmox has been rock solid stable for me. And the only times I've really had problems is when I was experimenting and doing something I maybe shouldn't have with it. And, but that's how you learn. We did not pay up front during testing, but have it budgeted for paying for maintenance and support. Okay, good to know. I know their lowest tier is pretty reasonable. One of the reasons I never put it on the super micro server is that it was running dual CPUs, and they charge by CPU socket for that. But their lowest tier, which is pretty reasonably priced in my estimation, does get you access to the production repositories. So probably not on these used machines, but if I get a newer, more modern machine to run Proxmox on in a year or two, that's when I will consider doing the base level of payment for them. Just because I've made money off the the non-subscription plan. But the community version is 95 euros per year and CPU socket. So I may do that on one machine in the future. If I get to the point where I consolidate and move the main server to a Ryzen based system down the road, which I expect there to be some second, third generation Ryzen stuff coming up on the used market here in the next 18 months, because of the switch to AM5 and the 7000 Ryzen 7000 series processors coming out later this year. I'm okay staying one level behind the current. Saves on costs, and whatever I get, I'm going to wipe Windows off from it and repurpose for what I want to do with it. Let's see. I'm all for open source, but no way I would run something at a business environment without some type of professional support. Absolutely. Completely different topic. How's the ATEM integration coming along? Are you getting accustomed to using it? I'm glad you brought that up, Tony. So I wanna switch and show something here real quick. I'm gonna take my take the message off, take my screen off. So this here is running through the ATEM. So I can put myself on screen down in the corner. I think my limitation that I'm hitting here is that I'm not streaming direct from the ATEM. I'm going through StreamYard. And maybe you can answer this, Tony. I'm not sure. So the ATEM does 1080. StreamYard limited to 720 because I'm on the middle package. And it feels like there's a mismatch between them, and which is why I'm getting such a small window of this machine showing through StreamYard. But I mean, even if I come back to just my camera, um, it works. I'm just not getting full screen with it. And I think it's because of my StreamYard subscription level, but I I don't know. I was actually going to reach out to you and Joe and try to track down an answer on this, but maybe that's something you have some idea on right off the top of your head. If not, don't worry about it. um, I have one server I want to use for a Proxmox backup server, but right now I am just using the scheduled backup function in Proxmox to save the images to a CIF share. Yeah. So I'm hoping that somewhere along the line, Proxmox backup server will evolve to be able to back up not only the VMs, but also the configuration of the system overall in such a fashion that it can be restored. Right now, you're basically going to end up, at least from what I've been finding and reading and seeing other YouTubers struggle with, you're going to basically be rebuilding the VE server and then restoring VMs from the backup server, which isn't the end of the world, but it seems like there could be an easier way to do that. Standard support subscription. Let's see. I'd rather run Fedora over Windows 11 any day. I started buying parts for my next big build, an Intel 12th gen system. All right. I'm interested. I'm interested to see that. I'm also interested to see what the performance jump is going to be with the new Ryzen systems coming later in the year. Ever heard of Desk Pool? Is a VDI solution compatible with Proxmox like VMware Horizon? I have not. I'm just learning all kinds of things from you, Chris. Desk Pool. All right. And it supports multi-hypervisors. Well, let me throw that in chat just for the sake of argument. Okay. I will have to take a look at that. Especially now that I've got a Windows server instance in Proxmox. Something I want to look into. Tend to agree with you. Why not just stream directly to YouTube from the ATEM? Well, that is just simply because I'm used to doing things the way I've got it set up on StreamYard, and I want to make sure that I'll be able to have a way to access chat functions once I do start streaming on the ATEM. So it's likely people are going to see some additional test streams pop up, and likely the videos will disappear, but it's going to just kind of be a playground for me to experiment with before I go whole hog rolling that functionality out. But yeah, going to the ATEM for streaming direct to YouTube will actually allow me to do 1080p streaming rather than 720 that I'm limited to with StreamYard. And in all honesty, I don't think I'll be renewing my StreamYard subscription when it comes up for renewal in the fall, because my ISP has increased my speeds enough that I can theoretically stream direct from the ATEM and have things just work. So um, that part is on me. I haven't got things quite where I want them yet for doing that. I'll eventually do another Ryzen build shortly after their new models are released. Yeah, I'm really interested. I'm honestly I'm not opposed to buying used Ryzen stuff. Um, just to get some stuff that's a little more current, but um, we'll see what happens. I might. I've got a niece graduating from high school this year, and um, one of the things my dad and I have talked about is going in together and getting her either a higher end laptop for school or uh, higher end as in compared to the POS she's got now, or building her a desktop machine as her graduation present. So um, some of that's going to depend on when the new Ryzen stuff comes out, and what she needs for school, depending on what the school says for requirements. That new 12th gen system will be running a hypervisor and be my network VM system. Not sure which hypervisor I will use yet. Yep. So there are several out there. I know there have been issues reported with VMware ESX or ESXi on more consumer level hardware. They tend to like to have it on a real server. Although there are guides out there that will tell you which hardware is compatible and point you in a direction on that. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. I have used ESXi in the past. I've used XCPNG for my super micro server. I started on Proxmox. I migrated to XCPNG, and then I migrated back to Proxmox. And at the time, XCPNG was pretty new yet, and it didn't feel like as polished a product, and it felt like it was making me spend more time on maintenance than what I was spending actually building VMs. So that's what got me off from XCPNG. Chat functionality is definitely doable. Just install the Aaron Parecki Chrome extension for putting chats on the screen. Okay, good to know. I'm actually going to make a note of that. Okay. Thank you for that information, Tony. I very much appreciate it. And yeah, like I said, I'll probably do a test stream sometime during the week, going right out of the ATEM, and then it may be goodbye StreamYard after that, unless I'm doing an interview, at which point I may switch back to StreamYard just for that. And in that case, I'd probably just use webcam for that. But definitely want to keep doing more things with the ATEM. See, you reminded me. Oh, I have to start buying the parts I need to build my granddaughter a pink PC. It will have some repurposed internal parts, but look totally different on the outside. Well, that should be a fun project. Not needed for at least 18 months, though. All right. I just hope YouTube doesn't flag the PC build for children as a for children video. You'll have to do some keying out to get the chat to work. Reach out to me if you need assistance. Aaron is also has an excellent how-to vid. Very good. I'm looking forward to playing with that, and just seeing what I can do with that. So, I'm working on setting up Zoom to work well within OBS. Yeah. So I know Zoom has some limitations if you don't have a paid subscription there as well. So I've thought about using Zoom. The product I tend to use in place of Zoom is Jitsi Meet, which is a free offering, and drop that into chat. There's also a paid version by called 8x8 Meet, which I think is like $1 a month. And this has, let's see. This has some additional features, phone a guest, keep a record, it will transcribe and share recorded meetings. It will allow you to live stream to YouTube, which obviously I don't need with the ATEM. Set the rules and get organized, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. Jitsi Meet, and I've played with 8x8 just a little bit. I think I'm actually paying for a subscription to that. I gotta find out if I want to figure out if I want to keep that or not. But at $1 a month, I guess I haven't really missed that little bit of scratch. All right, so we have made it to 1 hour and 39 minutes. I heard that Zoom has a lot of security vulnerabilities. So, yeah, that was my reluctance to use Zoom right at the beginning of the plague. Specifically, my financial advisor had demanded that I use Zoom, and I had thrown that back at him and said, no, I'm not comfortable using Zoom for financial discussions. Until they had fixed some of the pretty major breaches and issues that they had discovered at the time. At this point, I think those have been addressed. I think in the last year, the software has got a lot better, but I'm still more comfortable with Jitsi Meet, honestly. And actually, Jitsi had better encryption while Zoom was still working out some of their issues. 8x8 is a really good IP phone system service. Much better, in my opinion, than Ring Central. Interesting. Another vote for Jitsi. Yeah. If you're not careful with how you configure it. That too. That definitely plays into it. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call it for the day. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. If you haven't done so already, hopefully you got something out of this and would consider giving me a like on this video. I do value this time that I spend with everybody on Sunday mornings and into the early afternoon. And this is something that has kind of helped me keep going during the plague, because I have no roommates and people that I interact with on a regular basis other than coworkers. So we're back, still doing a kind of a hybrid schedule at the library, but I'm back there 3 days a week now. So it's this was has definitely been helpful to me during this crazy period of time we've all been living through. And yeah, I appreciate all of you for coming and spending time here, and hope you all get something out of this. And as always, feel free, go grab my email address off the channel page, and shoot me an email. Leave comments on the videos. Let me know things that you want to see. And if it fits with my overall vision for the channel, I'm always happy to take suggestions and build some new videos. You know, I actually even recorded a Windows Server video yesterday, which I never thought I would ever consider doing for the channel. But it never hurts to keep up with what the competition is doing, right? All right. I might not be back next week due to the storm. See you whenever I get back. All right. Well, Joseph, stay safe, and I hope to see you back at some point in the future. And on that note, thanks again, everybody. Have a great afternoon. And I've got videos coming this week. Tuesday for the Windows Server video. I've got another video that will likely drop on Thursday, and then Sunday for the live stream. And you might get a bonus live stream this week because of me testing the ATEM some more. So keep an eye out for that. Talk to you soon.